In this video, we are going to cover REST API interview question. So our first question is, what is REST? REST stands for Representational State Transfer. REST is a web standard based architecture and it uses HTTP protocol. So what is this web standard based architecture? So web standard based architecture, REST architecture, we can say is a client server model, okay, where client is like the front end or our postman from which we are sending a request to the server to our backend, which will give us back the response, okay. Though the request which we are sending is in the form of a HTTP protocol, like we are using the get method or post method. So those are all HTTP protocol, HTTP methods. Okay. So it revolves, this REST architecture actually revolves around resources, where every component is treated as a resource, and these resources are accessed by common interface using HTTP standard methods. So it is used, this REST architecture is basically used to create a lightweight, scalable, and easily maintainable web service. So we can say that web service is RESTful web service. So now our next question is, what is RESTful web service? Web services which are based on REST architecture, that is client and server model, are known as RESTful web services. It uses HTTP method to implement the concept of REST architecture, as we have seen in the last. Okay. So what was the need of this web service? Okay. Suppose you are working in some application, in some banking application, where logging to the application and other part is handled by a Java application, and dealing with the payment gateway and transferring of money is in the mainframe. Now we want this Java application and mainframe application. We want these applications to communicate to each other. So this is possible just because of this web services. Okay. If you read this software application written in various programming language. So various programming language, we can say Java and mainframe, and running on various platforms, can use web services to exchange data over computer networks. Okay, so they can communicate by using this web services. So our next question is, what HTTP methods does RESTful web services support, and scenario where those are used? So our first method is get. It is basically used to fetch the data. So now, okay, so this is my Spring application. If you see this controller, here is a get mapping. Okay, so this is the first method, that is get. Suppose we are working in some company and we have n number of employees. So we want the detail of all the employees. So in that case, we can use this get mapping. Okay, used to fetch the data and provides the read-only access. Now our next question is, next method is post. It is basically used to create a new record. Suppose in our company, a new resource or a new employee has joined. Now we want to store his information in the database. So in that case, we can use this post mapping. Okay. So suppose we are using the postman, and through postman, the user has entered his details or through the front end or the application. So we want to map those values to a particular model class, right? So we can do that by using this request coding. So now our next method is put. It is basically used to update the existing record. Okay, consider a scenario. One of the employee has changed his phone number. Now he want to update in the database that this is his new number. So for that purpose, we can use this put mapping. And in that case, we need the employee ID of the employee, right? Whose mobile number do we have to update? So for that, we have to pass this ID in the URL, and we can access this by using this path variable. Okay, and we want to get the things which he has changed. I mean, suppose he's he will send some record, right? Like he has changed his phone number, his name is this. So all those records we can get by using this request body, and we want which employee ID. I mean, the employee ID of the employee whose value we have to update. So that we will get by using path variable. Suppose we want to delete some. I mean, delete is basically used to delete an existing record. Suppose some employee has left our organization. Now we want to delete his record. So this is how we can delete it. We will get his employee ID, and then we will make we will get this employee ID by using path variable in Java. Then we will make a DB call and we will delete the record. So our next is patch. It is used for partial update of an existing record. Okay. So we can say this patch and put are almost same, but there is a small difference between them. Patch is basically used for the partial update. All other thing is same. Okay, like it will have the ID whose value we have to update and the values which we have to update, but it will going to be the partial update. Okay, so about this put and patch, I will explain in the another video with proper database, and I will show you practical how and what exactly put and patch and how they are different. So now we will move on to the next question. Our next question is, are RESTful web services stateless? Yes, RESTful web services are stateless. Now the question arises, what is this stateless? So statelessness means that every HTTP request happens in a complete isolation. Okay. So what exactly it means is, this is my postman. Okay. So this is one request. If you see in the authorization header, I'm passing a JWT token. Correct. So statelessness basically means like each and every time when you click on this send button, you have to send this bearer token, this JWT token every time you have to send. So this client, I mean, the postman is not going to save it or save it with itself. You have to pass each and every time. So that is what it is written. Every HTTP request happens in a complete isolation, that it is isolated from the request which you have sent before, because client postman is not going to store anything. So this is the example. Okay. So suppose we have an API where we want to log in and order some goods. The API deployed on many servers can serve many requests, even from the same account, without storing the authentication details or provided token state. Every time client is making a request, see here, every time client is making a request, it will send the authentication details as well as other information. Every time he is making a request, he has to send this authentication detail as well as the other required header information. Okay. So now we will move on to the next question. RESTful web service messages. Okay. So RESTful web services make use of HTTP protocol as a medium of communication between client and server. We have seen, right? Like there was a client and server, they were talking to each other by using this HTTP. Okay, they communicate with each other by using these messages. A client sends a message in the form of HTTP request, and server responds back in the form of HTTP response. Okay, so we can say this is basically the request. Okay, this is the request and this is the response, and the medium through which they are communicating with each other is called messaging. So the next question is, how can we use XML as a message in RESTful? Okay, so this is our application. We can basically do this XML by using this produces media type.application XML value. I will show you where we have to use this and how we can change it to XML. Okay, we all know by default it is always JSON. So in this, I mean, for this particular scenario, I'm going to use this particular annotation. I mean, this particular method like post mapping. So now, right now, my server is up and it is running on port 8080. Okay, so here, if you see, I'm sending the JSON request, I'm getting the JSON response. Okay, now it is in the JSON, right? But our question was, how can we change it to XML? So for that, first of all, we have to add one dependency. So this is the dependency which we have to add, Jackson data format XML. Okay, and here with the post mapping, we have to add this thing, produces media type dot. So with this post mapping, we have to add this produces media type.xml. That means that this particular result, it is going to produce XML. Okay, now we will quickly start our application and see, does it really work or not? Okay. So I have started my application and it is running on port 8080. And this is our postman. Okay, this was the request, I mean the URL. Now the request is in JSON. If you see, we got the response in XML. If I try to change here ABCD 211 and something, okay, yeah, correct. So the request is in JSON and the response is in XML. So in this video, this much only. If you like the video, please subscribe to the channel. In the upcoming videos, I will bring some more RESTful web services interview question. And thank you. Stay tuned.